Everyone has a story to tell. We connect and relate to one another when we share our stories. My name is Amelia Old, and I am your host of Voices of Inspiration. Join me as I share stories of friends, family, and strangers from my everyday life and travels. You will laugh, possibly cry, but walk away feeling connected more than ever to those around you and ready to be the change our world needs. Everyone has a story to tell. What's yours? Thank you so much for tuning in to Voices of Inspiration. I am your host, Amelia Old. I want to start off by saying this is my first episode, and I am so excited that you are with me on this journey as I share inspiring stories from people around the world, from my everyday life, friends and family. This has been a long goal and passion of mine to share these stories with you, and I'm just so grateful that you are taking time out of your day to be with me. Today's guest, Zweli Williams, is right here in the Carolinas, but she first discovered her love for flavors at a very young age in Zimbabwe. Upon finishing high school, she migrated to Durham, North Carolina, where she attended North Carolina Central University and majored in hospitality and tourism. In 2016, she embarked on her way to the beginning of her lifelong dream by taking a leap of faith from her then employment to introducing her catering business, Zweli's Inc. She quickly became the preferred caterer to some of the largest organizations in the area, such as Google, UNC, Duke University, and several community foundations. Today, Chef Zweli is one of North Carolina's most prominent chefs at the first authentic Zimbabwean restaurant in the country, Zweli's Kitchen. Standing in for her community during one of Durham's most tragic crises, Chef Zweli and her restaurant team coordinated volunteers to feed families who were evacuated from their homes due to a gas leak. Over a 6-month period, Zweli's Kitchen served over 49,000 meals to those in need. In 2020, her flavors and community service landed her and her husband a special invite by President Joe Biden to be his VIP guest at the presidential debate. From that invite, Chef Zweli, her husband Leonardo, and her restaurant were given a world stage. They were interviewed by every major media outlet in North Carolina and Tennessee. The largest newspaper in South Africa, the Mail and Guardian, the Zimbabwean paper, the Sunday Times Live, and ultimately BBC Africa. Welcome to the show, Zweli Williams.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to first focus on you and your personal story. I've read a bit about your time as a young child in Zimbabwe, and you went through a lot of really tough, difficult and trying times. And I was hoping you could share a bit of your experience and what led you to the U.S.
So, as you mentioned, I am from Zimbabwe. I arrived into this country about 21 years ago. And I originally came here for college. I went to North Carolina Central University.
Okay.
And majored in hospitality and tourism. Mm-hmm. But I spent my first years of my childhood life in Zimbabwe. I grew up in a little town called Bulawayo, and I grew up with I have about 3 siblings. I grew up with my mom in a single family home. So yeah, growing up back home, I'm not sure a lot of people know the political, things going on in Zimbabwe. But I think up until maybe 97, things were, quite great in the country. And, all of a sudden the economy tanked. And that's why a lot of parents kind of sent out their kids out of the country to get a better life and to get a better education. So hence here, actually, all my siblings and I went to North Carolina Central University.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, that's how we got here.
Was it always the plan to go to North Carolina?
Not really.
That just happened.
It happened. And, also that's where the comfort was. If you already have family, my sister was already here.
Oh, okay.
I moved. So if you already have family, it's much easier to be closer because it's a completely different environment, different culture. And just being around the support that you need to get acclimated is very important.
When you decided that you were going to come to North Carolina to go to college, did you have any idea that you wanted to follow the tourism hospitality path, or did that come later?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've always been in the kitchen. Ever since I can remember, I just love entertaining
Mm-hmm.
people through food and conversation. So every time at home, when I was still a teenager, every time we had guests in the house, I was just in the kitchen. I was always planning menus, always planning the program, always planning how we're going to entertain the guests.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just natural for me to just want to be in the field because it really didn't feel like, yes, it's a career, but it's something that I really, really loved to do. So most times, yes, sometimes it feels like work. However, I would say that 90% of the time when I'm in the kitchen, be it in the restaurant or at home, I feel more relaxed. I feel like I'm distressing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a blessing in that
True passion.
that for a living.
Now, you met your husband. Does he go by Leonardo or Leo?
Leonardo.
Um,
Yeah.
you met him in college, but it didn't quite work out to start with. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Leo and I met in 1999 when we were freshmen in college. And at the time, I mean, I was just from back home.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just from the country as well. He grew up in Enfield, North Carolina. So we met at school. We're both freshmen. And we just clicked from day one. We were just, I don't know, he was just there for me, like naturally from day one. And we became best friends, things moving along pretty well until like maybe about 8 months later. That's when I discovered he actually had a girlfriend. I was shocked. I was so shocked. I was so hurt. I literally slapped him across his face and I told him I never want to see you again. I never want to speak to you again because he was like, we were so close. Like we did everything together. It's like he got me.
Yeah.
He literally got me. And I was so crushed. I was extremely crushed. He was just one of those guys in my life when, as females, we talk about the most horrendous situations. He was the one I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And then you stay disconnected from him for over 10 years.
yes, for over 13 years. He tried to come back 10 years later, and I wasn't having it. I wasn't having it. And
Rightly so.
another 3 years went by, and my sister actually talked me into talking to him, hear what he has to say. It's been so long. Like, what exactly were you mad about anyway? The person mad for all this time. And one day I just decided to respond to a message, and when we met up, and the rest is literally history. So we've been married for about 6 years now. And
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What happened during that 13 years for you? What was going on with you? Because obviously you had graduated college. So what was going on with you during that time?
So during the 13 years, I graduated college. I got married. I had a son. And I got divorced, and my career was me and my child. I was a single parent struggling, so I was working hard, fighting hard in the workplace to move up in the ladder, which was very difficult. The food industry is not the easiest. It's just really not the easiest industry in terms of time. You're working a lot. You're working when people are out. That's when you're kind of working. So the hours that I was working with the child were very challenging. And then also you're working with people that do not have the responsibilities that you do,
right?
And compared to as a male who has a family at home, who comes into work, the wife, the kids are at home. When he's in the workplace, he probably has a little bit more drive because he doesn't have to go through the things that you go through.
Absolutely.
But as a single parent, it's like
You're
when I
balancing it
came
on your
home,
own.
yes, it was very, very challenging,
Yeah.
very challenging just to prove myself, that
Yeah.
I can do it. I can do it too. So I felt like I had to work like 5 times harder,
Sure.
than the average person, than the average, like people that I was competing with
Hmm.
in the work field, so in the workplace. So I worked hard for years, but I worked my way up from being an assistant manager of a chain restaurant to being
Hmm.
a general manager of a large restaurant, and that's what I wanted at the time. But I also knew that I wanted bigger. I wanted to build something for myself. I just
Hmm.
really needed to have the experience and the skill set and the maturity to be able to start my own product.
Sure.
And
What do you feel was the right moment, the right time that you finally decided, okay, I'm going to follow my dream and I'm going to open up this restaurant?
So I waited a really long time. I
Hmm.
waited a really long time and there were opportunities eventually that were just coming to me for different places. But my last job was at a local restaurant in Raleigh called Simply Crepes. I was there as a general manager for about 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And I really waited because I just wanted to I was waiting for the next right move. I couldn't just jump up and be like, okay, I'm going to take another job or I'm going to take a leap of faith right now. I felt like it had to be really the right time
Hmm.
for me, mentally, physically, emotionally, because it's a very tough transition, right?
Hmm.
And by that time also, Leo and I were already married. And
Hmm.
so it kind of put things in a little different dynamic in that I was able to really focus and really think of what I wanted to do, you
And
know.
Leo was super supportive of that.
Super, super supportive. I
Mm.
mean, I can never ask for more than, what Leo does.
Mm.
He's like my right hand. We work like right side by side and we conquer everything side by
That's so
side.
amazing.
Yeah. So, and my parents too, where we have businesses back home, and my parents were, just affirmations that it's time. We're here to support you. It's
Mhm.
time. Even still, it was still like just from a job security to saying, okay, this is it. I eat what I kill. This is
Mhm.
it. So I quit my job before I even thought of maybe the name of the business or the anything. I was like, okay, we're gonna start off as a catering company and then eventually work ourselves through to a storefront. And I quit my job, and the day I quit my job, next day I was kind of doing a lot of research of what exactly I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that spoke to me, that spoke my
Mhm.
language, which is my culture.
Mhm.
And it's not that many like African restaurants around, especially like Southern Africa, Zimbabwean, there isn't any. So, but that just spoke to me, just staying true to myself, because I felt like I would give the best of me if I stayed authentic and remained true to that.
And the menu is inspired by the foods you enjoyed in your village as a child
Yes,
growing up, correct?
yes, absolutely.
And I hear you have some famous peanut butter collard greens.
Yes, I do. Yes. And it sounds weird. It always sounds weird when someone is like peanut butter with colors. How does that work?
There's another name for it, correct? For the peanut
So
butter.
peanut butter is Novi. That's
Dovi.
what we call it in Shona,
Hmm.
Novi. And so Zimbabwe is a very agricultural country. A lot of countries in Africa are. So just dating back from our ancestors, they used to grow their food. They used to hunt. They used to have their own like cows, their own goats and chickens and stuff. So I wanted to embrace that through what they used to eat. Like when you look at Novi collards, which is peanut butter, collards in peanut butter sauce, you literally getting peanuts from your garden. You're getting collards, from your garden. And it's literally, we use 4 ingredients, peanut butter collard. So it's very simple things that somebody who was growing all they ate, this was it for them, this is what I eat, could be able to walk into their garden and make a meal. So most of the dishes are inspired by that, by growing up in rural Africa and being able to eat healthy, to eat organic, and it's just cultural. Yes.
Do you work with local farmers?
We do work with local farmers. We're in the process of actually working with the Black Farmers Market, hopefully starting this spring. I think one of the challenges that we've faced so far is actually getting enough product to, if I need 80 pounds or something of collard greens, I'm not really able to get them from one farmer and be able to get them on a consistent basis. So by working with Black Farmers Market, they'll be able to get product from different local farmers, and we'll be able to just get them from them. So which really builds consistency on our part. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And last year, you had something really cool that happened in the fall during the elections. You were President Biden's special guest at the presidential debate in Nashville. How did you feel when that call came along?
It was surreal at first because, I don't know, it's something that I had thought about because 2 weeks prior, we had been asked by the Biden Foundation organization to campaign to be part of a panel with Kerry Washington and her husband and some local, elected officials. And Leah and I were representing small businesses. It was really cool. It was awesome. And during the discussion, I was just thinking how cool it would be to actually be at the debate, which at that point, I mean, chances are like 0, that's not going to happen. But I thought about how cool it would be and stuff, and just didn't think, and then the thought just went away. It was just one of the thoughts that goes through your mind. Until the evening, I was in the restaurant and Leo calls me and he says, "You need to sit down." And I'm like, going on? What's going on? Then I was busy, but I actually sat down and I was like, "What's up? What's going on?" And he says, "Guess what? We go into the debate." I was like, "What debate?" And he was like, "Yeah, we're going to the Biden debate. We are, in fact, we didn't know that we were special guests or anything. We thought that we're probably representing North Carolina, maybe in small businesses, and there were going to be other people that were representing different things. That's what we thought. We didn't think, yes, it was big, but we didn't know the magnitude of it. Like, what are the chances?"
And when did you realize the magnitude?
When we got to our seats. Literally when we got to our seats. And hours before we actually got to the debate, we had a lot of news media were calling that they had all these interviews lined up, for us, which, at that point I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know was going to be this big. I didn't know. But we still did it. They didn't tell us the magnitude of it, like, completely, until we walk in and we get escorted to our seats. And I'm like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with this picture. Why are we sitting right here? Why are we sitting here? And then I look next to my seat was Dr. Jill Biden's seat. I was like, wait a minute, I am sitting next to her. It was just nuts.
What a shock.
Yes. I mean, the evening, it was just one of those evenings that everything is completely so surreal.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to absorb all of it, but it's like a picture, it's like you're moving along a picture, and all of a sudden it ends.
Right.
And then you look back and you can't even believe that's where you were. So,
And look where you came from to where you were.
yes,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
So
That's
I
really
do I,
great.
I do have a book coming up.
Oh,
I have a
wow.
memoir coming up. We're working on it right now. So I'm hoping that within maybe the next 5 to 6 months, we just finished the manuscript. So we in the process of looking for publishers.
Is this book about your personal story in your life?
Yes, absolutely.
And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I've read quite a bit about your story, and this is definitely going to be a book that people are going to want to read.
I'm so
It
excited.
is quite the story.
I'm excited. I just want to inspire. I just want to inspire other people, young girls, especially. I want the book to reach the rural Zimbabwe where I grew up. I want kids who are in difficult situations to know that it's only temporary.
Mm-hmm. So
Everything
true.
is temporary. So yeah, I'm excited about it. At the same time, a little nervous because it's like you feel like you're literally stripping off all the layers.
Putting yourself out there.
Yeah, right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Now you're actively involved within the community in Zimbabwe, and you dedicate your time to the Eden Spring Trust. Can you tell me
Yeah.
about the organization and what you guys do?
So Eden Spring Trust provides not only food safety to orphans, we also provide sustainability. We want to groom the orphans to be able to be more self-sustaining in terms of teaching them how to own a business at a very young age. And owning a business can mean growing tomatoes in your back garden and selling those tomatoes and being able to provide
Mm-hmm.
for yourself and most times for your siblings and for your family. It's not really just a handout like, okay, here is some food. Yes, we do that, but the most important thing is to making sure that these kids become self-sustaining at the end of the day. So on average, I would say that most of these orphans literally only eat one meal a day, like
Mm-hmm.
literally one, sometimes zero. So our goal is to move from one meal a day to at least 2 to 3 meals a day,
Mm-hmm.
through which by they are actually providing for themselves through training and education on how to, especially agriculture, how to be able to farm, to sell, and just take care and provide for themselves.
Learning those business skill sets, that's so important.
Yeah,
Developing that's
absolutely.
really great. One thing I wanted to go back to about the restaurant cooking classes, are you still doing virtual cooking classes?
Yes, we do. So actually, cooking classes, we started them before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing cooking classes before we got the restaurant when we were still a catering business. And we used to mainly do them around Valentine's Day, like for like 3 or 4 days.
Great date night.
Date night. So when COVID hit, obviously as restaurants, all restaurants were struggling. So we're trying to figure out a way to be able to still have, not only have presence, but be able to sustain our business with different revenue streams. And we decided to do, it started off as a YouTube channel that I started. And then eventually I was like, okay, let's just go ahead and start doing these classes. And they are really, really amazing. Attendants are so happy to be part of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we make things so much easier. Like this Valentine's Day, we had cooking classes for Friday and Saturday. And participants were able to actually come in and pick up their boxes, their packages from the restaurant, everything already labeled for them, everything already
Oh, what a great
pre-packaged.
idea.
for them. And it was just so easy to just come in and grab a bag with some chocolate covered strawberries, some champagne, and just the whole package that you need for that special day. And the day off, they just log on to Zoom and we actually cook alongside everything. They were actually able to make about 3 different dishes per couple. And then after that, everyone literally sat down at their living room tables and we ate, all of us together, while we talked about how we met, all different stories along with people have been married for and all that good stuff. So it was a really, really nice.
That's so neat. The interaction, that's really neat. Technology is a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
As well, your story of loss and love and strength and success is extremely inspirational. As soon as I heard about you a few weeks ago, I couldn't wait to meet with you. And you're so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you have shared with us today. If you could leave any words behind for our listeners or a favorite quote, what would that be?
My favorite quote is by Oprah. It's called "The Next Right Move," and that resonates a lot, to me. In that, whatever I do, I'm always thinking, is this the right move for me right now? Is this the right move? Because yes, you can have different ideas. It's always different ideas, but you have to think about that next right step that catapults you to the next level. So if there's anything that I can leave today, is that just whenever you're making decisions, whenever you're getting ready to make a move, make a shift, bear in mind that it has to be the next right move. It has to feel right within you. And it has to be something that you've really, really thought about and propels you to the next level. There's always a move, but you have to look for that next right move in order to succeed.
That's beautiful. If the listeners want to find you, where can they find you online?
So they can find me Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even on our website. Zweli's Kitchen is the social media handles for the restaurant. And Chef Zweli Williams is for my chef's page.
And I will include those details under the notes of this episode at voicesofinspirationpodcast.com. Thank you, Zweli, for joining us and sharing your story. Thank you to our listeners. There are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm so grateful that you have chosen to join us. My name is Amelia, and I am your host of Voices of Inspiration. Everyone has a story to tell. What's yours?